Okay, I'm the host now. Okay. Please tell me when we can start, Prabhu. Yashdev Prabhu. And we are not live streaming, right? That's really good.
You can start whenever you like.
Okay. We're not live streaming, right? So I can play some things which I want to play.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's start. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamna Tiravanachari Jamna Tiravanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamna Tiravanachari Jamna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Damodar Shri Radhe Jayo Lalita Vishakha Shri Radhe Jayo Nitai Gaura Sundar Gaura Hari Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol. Thank you for coming, everyone. Let's start with today's session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jyaudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, which is entitled The Creative Impetus, chapter 16. I've been given verse 9 and 10, and I will need help in reciting these verses. Verse 9. This is a description of the Jambudvip. Evam dakshine la vratam nishadho he makuto himalaya iti prag ayata yatha niladayo ayuta yojano sedha hari varsha kim purusha bharatanam yatha sankyam. Evam. Does anyone want to recite the verse? Anybody would like to recite? If you would like to, then go for it. Evam, thus, Dakshina, by degree to the south side, degrees to the south side, Ilavratam, of Ilavrat Varsha, Nishada Hemakuta Himalaya. 3 mountains named Nishad, Hemakut, and Himalaya. Iti, thus, Prak Ayataha, extended to the east, Yathaha, just as, Nila Adhayaha, the mountains headed by Nila. Ayuta Yojana Uttasthidha, 10,000 yojanas high. Harivarsha, the division name Harivarsh. Kim Purusha, the division name Kim Purush. Bharatanam, the division name Bharatvarsha. Yatha Sankhya, according to number. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Similarly, south of Ilavrat and extending from east to west are 3 great mountains. From north to south, Nishad, Hemakut, and Himalaya. Each of them is 10,000 yojans, 80,000 miles high. They mark the boundaries of the 3 Varshas named Harivarsha, Kimapurushvarsha, and Bharatvarsha, India. Verse 10. Tathe vela vritam parein purvena cha malyavad gandhamadhanav anila nishadhayato dvi sahasram prapatuhu ketumal bhadrashayoho simanam vidhate. We'll go one more time. Tathe vela vritam veran purven cha malyavad madhanav anila nishadhayayatu dvisahasram prapartathu ketumala bhadravashyoho simanam vidadhate. Synonyms. Tatha eva, exactly like that. Ilavritam aparena, on the western side of Ilavrit Varsha. Purvena cha, and on the eastern side. Malyavad Gandha Madhanau, the demarcation mountains of Malyavan on the west and Gandhamadan on the east. Nila Nishada Ayato, on the northern side up to the mountain known as Nila, and on the southern side up to the mountain known as Nishad. Dvi Sahasram, 2,000 yojanas. Prapatahu, they extend. Ketumal Bhadrashvaho, of the 2 Varshas named Ketumal and Bhadrashva. Simanam, the border, Vidadhate, established. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the same way, east and west of Ilavrat Varsha are 2 great mountains known as Malyavan and Gandhamadan, respectively. These 2 mountains, which are 2,000 yojanas, 16,000 miles high, extend as far as Nila mountain on the north and Nishad in the south. They indicate the borders of Ilavrat Varsha and also the Varshas known as Ketumal and Bhadrashva. Perfect by Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Actually, there are so many mountains. Even on this planet Earth, we do not think that the measurements of all of them have actually been calculated. While passing over the mountainous region from Mexico to Caracas, we actually saw so many mountains that we doubt whether their height, length, and breadth have been properly measured. Therefore, as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by Sukdev Goswami, we should not try to comprehend the great mountainous areas of the universe merely by our calculations. Sukdev Goswami has already stated that such calculations would be very difficult even if one had a duration of life like that of Brahma. We should simply be satisfied with the statements of the authorities like Sukdev Goswami and appreciate how the entire cosmic manifestation has been made possible by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The measurements given herein, such as 10,000 yojans or 100,000 yojans, should be considered correct because they have been given by Sukdev Goswami. Our experimental knowledge can neither verify nor disapprove the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. We should simply hear these statements from the authorities. If we can appreciate the extensive energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that will benefit us. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadikar Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Similarly, south of Ilavrat Varsha and extending from east to west, there are three great mountains named from south, not to south, Nishad, Hemakut, and Himalaya. Each of them is 10,000 yojans, 80,000 miles high. They mark the boundaries of the three Varshas named Hari Varsha, Kemapurusha Varsha, and Bharat Varsha, India. In the same way, west and east of Ilavrat Varsha are two great mountains named Malyavan and Gandhamadan, respectively. These two mountains, which are 2,000 yojans, 16,000 miles high, extend as far as Nila Mountain in the north and Nishad in the south. They indicate the borders of Ilavrat Varsha and also the Varshas known as Ketumal and Bhadrashva. Okay, thank you for coming, everyone, for my encouragement. So many, all of you are like senior devotees, but I appreciate your presence and pray that for your mercy so I can. This is a difficult topic, but let's say what we can learn and whatever I can present. So let's dive in. As you know, I have memory issues, so I bring in some help all the time. Krishna. So going to the original thing, that what's happening here is Priyavrat Maharaj is Satyavish Avatar, right? He had originally divided the island into 14 divisions. What made him do that? Because he saw that the sun was uneven. The distribution of the sunlight was uneven. The distribution of the sunlight was uneven. So he wanted to actually make the creation in such a way that the entire planet gets the sunlight throughout. Okay, just one. So, sorry. Now we are talking about Jambu Dweep. So this is what I could find, and let's see what we read today. In the center, there is a mountain called Meru or Sumeru, and then today we read that on the let's go back to the verse, because when I was reading and I was making this, I was having with like back and forth. So south of Ilavrat, extending from east to west, there are three great mountains. Okay, so let me go take you there. So south of Ilavrat, there are three mountains. Focus on the south side, please. These are the mountains, Nishad, Hema, and Hima, which are made of gold, golden, and snow-covered. And these three mountains are actually marking the boundary of the three Varshas or areas, Hari, Kim Purusha, and Bharat Varsha. And then Sukhdev Goswami is telling us, feel free to interrupt me at any point because I'm also trying. This from west to east, there are two great mountains known as Malyavan and Gandhamadan, respectively. So I'll take you back to the map. So from west to east, there are mountains. If you see west side, there is this Malyavan. Make it bigger. West side, there is this mountain called Malyavan. And east side, there is this mountain called Gandhamadan. Okay, and then they are marking the boundary of two Varshas. One Varsha is called Ketumal and another Varsha is called Bhadrashva. This is what is happening here, from what I understood. So these two mountains, which are 2,000 yojans or 16,000 miles high, extend as far as Nila Mountain in north and Nishad in the south. So these two mountains, Gandhamadan and Malyavan, they extend to Nila Mountain, which is in the north, and Nishad Mountain, which is in the south. So they're 16,000 yojans high. You see the boundaries here? And then they are demarcating these areas. So the mountains are basically making the area. That's what Priyavrat Maharaj did. They indicate the borders of Ilavrat Varsha and are also known as Varsha called Ketumal and Bhadravarsh. Okay, so we'll go here. All right, so this is our focus today. The focus is that to the south side of Ilavrat Varsha, there are three mountains, Nishad, Hema, and Hima. And three mountains are demarcating the three Varshas, which is Hari, Kimpurush, and Bharat. And then from west to east, there are two mountainous regions. From on the west side, it's called Malyavan, and on the east side, it's called Gandhamadan. 16,000 yojans high, and they extend as tall as Nila Mountain on the northern side and Nishad on the southern side. Okay, Nila here and Nishad here. And then they are demarcating the two Varshas, which is called Ketumal and Bhadravarsha. Now starts the real thing. Okay. Any doubts so far? If you have a doubt, maybe I can send you the map because I don't think I'll be able to solve the doubt. So how much do we think we know? Prabhupada is raising this important point in the purport to verse number 10, that experimented knowledge. Say experimented knowledge, it is impossible to calculate even the mountains that he was seeing on his trip from Mexico to Caracas. So how much do we think we know? Okay, solve this problem. How many legs does this elephant has? I'm presenting to you an optical illusion, and this is not even like a very big scientific question or ethical dilemma. It's like, how many legs does this elephant has in this particular painting? So some participation will be great, but I guess morning time. So basically, we think we know, but we don't know, or we know and somewhat we don't know. So this is always a confusion. The next question, which I was thinking when I was reading this, is how much do we actually know? Okay, how much do we think we know, or how much we actually know what we know from about ourselves? So this is the brain, a human brain in a nutshell, which is supposed to have trillions of gigabytes of memory cells, trillions of gigabyte worth of memory cells. And there's a big question in the medical world that at any given point, how much percentage of human brain are we actually using? there was a theory which said 10%, but then it went on to say that, okay, most of the people are using most of the brain because functional MRIs have shown that brain is in use. So we don't know. Now, how about this? Okay, how about this dilemma? So in our eye, so how much we actually know is the question, okay? In our eye, whatever we are seeing, the image formed at the back of the eye is upside down. This was actually one of the fascinating things in my medical training in my college, that the eye, whatever we are seeing, the image at the back of the eye is perceived upside down, but then the brain actually makes us see downside up. So the ophthalmologists have not been able to solve this puzzle. Why is it happening like this? Nobody. So how much we actually know, or actually are we seeing whatever we are seeing? Eye is perceiving upside down, brain is perceiving downside up. So is it upside down, downside up? I'm just bringing up and leaving you with the questions this morning. Now, this is where we come. This is where Krishna consciousness comes, where the biggest question is, how much do we actually want to know? Do we have to know everything about everything, or do we have to focus and bring our attention? Which Prabhupada is exactly bringing in verse number 10. If I take you back to the verse towards the purport, Prabhupada is writing that we should simply be satisfied with the statements of authorities like Sukdev Goswami. So be satisfied and appreciate how the entire cosmic manifestation has been made possible by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So rather than putting, how I understand, is like putting our time and effort in calculating what we'll not be able to calculate anyway, even if I have a duration of life like that of Brahma, I must learn to appreciate and accept. Okay, so this is when we are ready for this kind of a surrender, then embarks the journey to the dimension, which is fourth dimension, or which is Turiya, right? Right now, most of us, or most of the people in the entire material creation are, this is a Venn diagram, it shows like hovering between gross body, subtle body, not really touching the soul, and what to do, and what about taking the soul to another dimension where it actually belongs. So we're like either in this Jagriti or Sushupti or Swapna, this stage, but we are not like harboring the energy of the soul. So where do we actually take our focus? Do we actually want to, there's a term in English called FOMO, which means like fear of missing out. So some people have this fear of missing out, that if they miss out on this message, if they miss out on this email, if they miss out on this meeting, then they will really miss out on something. But well, Shastras are telling us whatever has to miss out, let it miss out, but you don't miss out on the most important element of your existence in human form of life, which is to know from the right authority about your own existence. Focus on that. Then Krishna gives us the guidance, as Prabhupada is saying, go to the authority, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth, right? Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya upadakshanti tad jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. Because they have seen the truth, they can tell you the truth. But approach with the attitude of submission and service. Now, to me, this particular two verses bring about this thing. Okay, I can we have been given this map. Okay, we know that this is where Priyavrat Maharaj did this, and these are the mountain ranges, these are the varshas, this is where I am. And where am I? Like, what am I doing here? Is I'm actually going to approach an authority and learn the truth by submission and service. And one of the most important qualities that I tap into when I have to do that is that developing humility. So I thought we'll take a few minutes this morning to discuss this topic of humility. So what does humility really mean? We may have individual definition of what's humility, because I am used to presenting medical papers, so I'm going to present to you in a way that there's a case scenario that a devotee approaches, which is very common in ISKCON, basically, very common. It's common in the world itself. That's why it's common in ISKCON, because we are also sample of the society outside. So that a person, a devotee is in an abusive marriage. And then they approach another devotee to say, this is the case scenario. Please remember this, that should I leave? Should I go? What should I do? Should I leave the marriage? Should I leave the marriage, or stay in the marriage? So now different people will have different opinion. And one of the most common answers that if you do the survey is actually conveyed is stay because that's your karma and develop humility. So that made me think that, is that really humility? So let's see, is that how we actually tap into our spiritual dimension and learn the science of Krishna consciousness, both theoretically and practically? Krishna lists these qualities in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which are very dear to him. And first quality he lists is aman vittam. We don't have to go through the verse and don't have to, be absorbed in such a big slide, but focus on what I've highlighted here, please, if I may bring your attention. First thing he says, you see, he begins the dialogue with aman vittam. Okay, so what is aman vittam? Humility. Prabhupada is explaining in the purport as humility, not to be anxious to have satisfaction of being honored. This is what Prabhupada is defining in this particular verse. So what does humility mean and what it does not mean? Both. Let's tap into it. And it'll be very nice if you can actually contribute or criticize productively. So humility does mean acknowledging one's fault. It does mean that. Let's say that I don't know how to do the DD worship of Shishira Damodar. So I need to, and I've done something which is not according to the standard, then okay, I commit. I've done a mistake. I'm sorry. My intention was not that. Could you please teach me? So that's humility, trying to learn and rectify in one's and actually growing, right? It actually means growth. And whenever we say that there is a room for growth, it actually means that there is a power there. So we go where the power is. So when we acknowledge my own faults from the proper standard of heart, from proper place in my heart, then I'm actually becoming more powerful in growing and empowering in my own journey in Krishna consciousness. Now, the other myth is, remember the case scenario I said in the beginning, humility versus high self-esteem. So the problem comes is when we are reading all these prayers,
You are muted.
So I'm sorry, Tarika Prabhu, sorry. I had an emergency call. So humility versus high self-esteem. So the problem happens, we read all these Narottam Das Thakur's prayers, we read Bhakti Vinod Thakur prayers, we read Tuna the piece niche na tarori vasahishnuna, we read like humbler than the blade of grass, tolerant like a tree, or Narottam Das Thakur Prabhupada is saying that I am the lowest, my claim is first, right? Patita Pavana Hetu Mam Avatar. So you are the Patita Pavan and I am the lowest, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. So like that we read and then say, oh, actually, if I have to become Krishna conscious, I have to have no self-esteem. I have to become like a blade of grass. Anybody can come and trample over me. But you see, one devotee once told me that one has to be very, very authentic in one's journey in Krishna consciousness. I am not Narottam Das Thakur. I'm Prabhupada. I'm not Bhakti Vinod Thakur Prabhupada. I'm not Srila Prabhupada. I am very much identifying myself with my material existence. So the in my life, in my journey so far, in 2 decades of being with Krishna consciousness, is like, initially, if I look back, I was like, okay, there was a lot of confusion between what's pure devotee, what pure devotees are writing, okay, and then where my material ego is coming in. So it becomes unsustainable sometimes. The practice of Krishna consciousness becomes unsustainable sometimes because of this confusion. So, what is high self esteem and what is humility? Humility, I told you what Bhagavad Gita is saying and Prabhupada is explaining, is that the not to have a desire to be honored by others. So, what is high self esteem? So, the definition which I could find is from one in the secular world. This famous psychologist, he defines high self-esteem as the disposition of experiencing oneself as competent in coping with the basic challenges of life and as being worthy of happiness. Because the disposition of experiencing oneself as competent in coping with the basic challenges of life and as being worthy of happiness, which is, to me, sounded Krishna conscious, because if you decode the words, experiencing oneself as competent. Okay, I am definitely not a good singer like Sarvatma Prabhu. I am definitely not so dedicated like Targa Prabhu. I am definitely not so committed like Yashdev Prabhu. Okay, I'm not like so absorbed, but I am something. Krishna has given some ability. So as thinking oneself as competent in serving Krishna, and then being worthy, okay, I'm also worthy of becoming Krishna conscious. I'm also worthy of serving Prabhupada's mission in a little manner, which actually takes me to a pastime of a little squirrel in Ramayana, right? I am sure everyone knows that when all the monkeys were helping Lord Ram build a bridge to to Lanka, and they were like writing the name Ram on a stone and throwing it in the water on the ocean, and the stone, no gravity was acting. So a little squirrel were also doing its part, and some of the monkeys were joking on that squirrel. And Lord Ram defended the squirrel, said, "This is also my devotee. Whatever service the squirrel is doing is very worthy to me, very worthy. So you do your thing, I'll do my thing." So that's like, okay, Krishna is acknowledging that whatever little I can do, Krishna is acknowledging. We have this very famous story. I don't know if you know this story of Prabhupada mentions this story that there was this rat, and the rat was going on the altar. And one time, I should have put that slideshow. I'm so sorry. One time, the rat was very used to, or did like to eat strawberries or cherries. Okay, so one time when he saw the lamp wavering, the lamp on the altar, it looked like the shape of a cherry or a strawberry. It was wavering, was faltering. So the rat thought that it was a cherry, so it actually jumped to eat, but then it got burned because it was fire, it was not a cherry. But Prabhupada explains Krishna took it that this rat gave its life to save my lamp from waving off, from waving off. So he got liberated. So it's very important. I am so important to Krishna that whatever little service I can do, that's high self-esteem, and which is actually, so that's also a part and parcel of humility. Okay, now the next question comes in my head when I was writing this is humility versus, high self-esteem versus pride. So where do we draw the boundary? That I'm going towards Krishna, I'm marching towards Krishna, but am I becoming humble? Am I developing or cultivating the quality of high self-esteem, or am I becoming proud? So pride is defined as thinking great of oneself, the great. So that one has to check. And there's an example from the Shastras to explain this pride element from Mahabharata, actually. All right, so once Krishna called Yudhishthira Maharaj and Duryodhan, and he gave them both the task. All right, so he told Duryodhan, go around in your arena and find out a person who is better than you, is better than you. And he told Yudhishthira Maharaj, now you go around the world and find out a person who is lower than you. So they both went. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, of course, could not find anybody who was lower than him. And Duryodhan, I'm sorry, I didn't put Duryodhan's slide where I was putting. Let me see. Okay. But Duryodhan, on the other hand, I'm sorry, was a powerful slide, could not find anybody who was greater than him. So that's how we differentiate whether am I becoming proud, am I developing a quality of high self-esteem or humility. So that's a check mark, a benchmark. Okay, and then so far, let me go back. We have discussed the verse. In the verse, we have discussed that there are the mountain ranges. The mountain ranges are actually making the boundaries of different tracts of land, or which is called Varsha. In these two verses, we have discussed two areas in the map, which is southern side, and then this next side is from west to east. Okay, and then Prabhupada is explaining in verse number 10, purport, which I am picking up for this discussion in this assembly, is that no point wasting your time calculating the length and breadth of this material world, or the mountain ranges in this planet itself. No point, because our experimental knowledge will not be able to give us the correct answer, even if I have a lifespan as long as Brahma. So what is the point? What do I do with my lifetime, or the time that's been allotted to me in this particular body? Listen to the authorities and appreciate and become grateful. And then we said, okay, then I said, I took you on a journey that how much do we think we know, and how much do we actually know, and how much we actually want to know, and what do we actually want to know could be one of the other places. And if I want to tap onto my existence as a soul and take my soul in Turiya or fourth dimension, then I need a guru. And the relationship is submission and rendering service. And one of the foremost qualities which Krishna celebrates in a person who is on a journey to Krishna consciousness is humility, amanvittam, which he explains in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, verse 8 to 12, as no desire to be honored by others. Then I said, okay, then I presented a case scenario in front of you that this devotee comes in front of you from an abusive marriage and says that, should I stay, should I leave? So then we tapped into what is the definition of humility, what is the definition of high self-esteem, and what is the definition of pride. And the example of pride in terms of Krishna giving tasks to Duryodhan and Yudhishthira Maharaj. So very important to be conscious of one's own authenticity in journey to Krishna, because Krishna is not going to let me come to him with the baggage. I have to take it out and come. Krishna will show you have this baggage. No point in comparing. Krishna says this in 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita, do your work even if it is full with fault, rather than following somebody else's work. Now, feeling worthy and feeling competent. Sometimes if I'm feeling worthy of myself in Krishna consciousness and I feel competent, then the material ego taps in that, okay, because we have to work in the material world with the same vigor, same zest, right? Struggle for existence is going on. Now, okay, I should be the one who will be more worthy and competent, so look upon me and give me awards. But then, so what do? Do we just leave it and not bring these qualities in Krishna consciousness? Or what do we do because they're completely material? So how do these aspects of self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-respect relate to Krishna consciousness? So Krishna wants all of us trapped in material world to be peaceful and happy. He wants, that's why he sends the manual, he sends Bhagavad Gita, he sends teachers. So he wants us to be peaceful and happy, and not be confused and ruffled, right? So how do we do that? By actually, I don't know, it's yet to learn. One friend told me one time this: what you are is God's gift to you, and what you make of yourself is your gift to God. So by making myself competent and feeling worthy, I can give that quality to Krishna. If we look at Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, whenever I've seen Prabhupada's photographs, he's always walking with his head high on the sky. Right? He's always walking. So he is very humble. We cannot say Prabhupada is not humble. Prabhupada, when he landed in America, he wrote the poem, and the words were that make me a puppet in your hand and make me dance, make me dance. And then he understood it as the most insignificant servant, right? So he's also he's also fitting into the category of the pure devotee, humbler than the grass on the ground and more tolerant than the tree. But he also has high self-esteem, very confident. Right? He said that you should be like an army man. What does it say? Heart like a Bengali mother and discipline like a English soldier, something like that. So high self-esteem, very competent. Prabhupada had a globe, and he would like, look, okay, now we have conquered this part of the world. Now you go to Malaysia, you go to Moscow, you go to London, you go here, you go there. So it's very competent and very worthy, but very humble and a lot of self-esteem in serving the mission of his spiritual master, and very, very confident as well. Okay, so this was Duryodhan's photo that when he went to, sorry, I didn't put it in proper order, that when Krishna told him to find out somebody who's better than him, he couldn't, poor guy couldn't find anyone who's better than him. This is where I wanted to end, but I do have one small video which I want to show, for which I will have to stop this live stream because it's from the YouTube. So is it okay to stop the live stream? Tarka Prabhu, Yashadev Prabhu. I'm not Can somebody answer?
I don't know how to do it.